Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time frame you're watching this. I'm Coach Renz, and today we back at it. We back at it. Woke up this morning to tons of foolishness on Facebook, on my social medias, concerning the rioting that's going on. We're going to take a little bit of time to discuss this, as well as some other topics and other subjects concerning this issue. We're going to talk for about 45 minutes. 45 minutes, got a hard stop right around 12 o'clock. But we're going to take some time. Before I get started, I want to thank everybody who subscribes to my channels on YouTube, Facebook. But more importantly, I want to thank everybody who is taking a stand. Before I really get started, I want to say that if you looked at my Facebook page, today you will, on my personal Facebook page, Larenzo Reid, you will see that I commended two black officers that I know of, that I know them personally, who came out and spoke against this situation. I know we have been saying that if a cop sits by and doesn't say anything, then that cop is just as culpable as the rest of them, because sitting there not saying nothing is guilt by association. So first I want to commend two friends of mine, one especially, Brandon Noyer is my brother, who came out and stated his opposition to what happened with George Floyd and the heinous crime that was committed. And another one, Jay Gresham, a friend that I met through Brandon, who's also a police officer, who came out and stated. And I understand that there have been a few other police officers, and it needs to be more. The more police officers stand up and say something about this heinous crime, then it will begin to move the needle. Now, that being said, I have also said in many occasions when 9/11 happened, if the good Muslims don't say anything, then the narrative becomes all Muslims. So I will reiterate, I am grateful for the two friends of mine and my brother for standing up and saying that they detest this situation, that it was completely wrong, they are going against the blue code, and that I applaud them. More cops need to speak up as well. The more of you speak up, the less they can do against you. This led into a conversation that I saw on one of my Facebook, or a person who's on my Facebook page, where people were discussing whether or not if the military gave a lawful order, gave an order, would you fight for the people or would you fight for the government? This came, I would imagine, because later on I saw 45, the orange president, tweeting out that he is in full support of the governor of Minneapolis, and that if the looting when the looting starts, the shooting will start. Here's the thing, people. I served in the Marine Corps for 8.5 years. Got out on a medical discharge. During my 8.5 years in the Marine Corps, 3 different occasions did I had to stand up against the United States government, against what was being done incorrectly, what was done wrong. I disobeyed a lawful order 3 times. Well, let me rephrase. I disobeyed an order 3 times because the orders were unlawful. I was at the risk of losing my military career. Here's the thing. For all those people in the military, if you think that the military is the only way you can live your life, it is your only opportunity, that you put your 15, 20 years in and you don't want to risk that, so you stay quiet, you, sir or ma'am, are a slave to the system. You are a slave. It's as simple as that. My mind and your mind is fully capable of figuring out how to live your life without the military. So the fact that you will stand up against an unlawful order, that you will say, no, I will not go and kill Americans, shoot Americans because they are exercising their right. But yes, they are vandalizing, they are looting, which is not their right. But I will not stand and shoot unarmed Americans, shoot people for being outraged, for rioting. If you cannot do that as a military person, then shame on you, because you are fully the same military person who is willing to go into Afghanistan and shoot whomever they tell you to shoot. You are the same person who is willing to go to Iraq and shoot whomever they are telling you. You are a puppet. You are a slave. You are nothing but, you know what? I can't even call it a different word. You're just a slave, plain and simple. Because this is the same reaction that many Germans had during the reign of Hitler. I was just following orders. You never have to follow orders, especially when you're given instructions to kill people who are unarmed. You may be able to justify it by saying that they're rioting, they're vandalizing a target. Is a target worth the life of a person? Is your mentality worth the life of a person? Many and most military people, only about 3% of military people ever see combat. Let's be honest about it. Most of y'all military people have never seen combat. You've never been in a situation where your life has been in danger. Let's be real about it. You've never shot a person. Let's be real about it. But if you're called and the first person you're called to shoot is an American, black person, Spanish person, or hey, let's not get confused. There's a bunch of white people in Minnesota who's looting. The news don't want to show it that way. But if your first act as a military patriot is to fire and shoot and kill or lob a grenade or fire artillery at Americans, at unarmed people, you will be so psychologically damaged that you won't even know what to do with yourself. Is it worth it? But more importantly, just because the president said to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. I'll be damned. And I'm not, and like I said in the very beginning, I'm not saying this as if have never been in that position. I have been in that position 3 different occasions where I was given an order that I found to be unlawful, and I disobeyed it. I fought the system, and I won. Most people won't win. But if there's enough people who go against that system, then the system has to break down, and that is where rioting comes into play. Many people, and it amazes me, and I'm going to offend some people. Okay, I'm just telling you, I'm going to offend some of you. So if me offending you, if what I'm about to say, we're gonna say it was me. Sorry about that, YouTube. Don't know what happened. We're gonna say it was me. We're gonna say it was YouTube who shut that down for a second. But where was I? Yes, rioting. I'm going to offend some of you. If this offends you, then you should get off my pages. If this offends you, you should get off my channels. If you can't deal with this, I am not someone you should be listening to. I'm going to offend many different people from different points of view. The first people that I'm going to offend is going to be the white people who are on my Facebook pages and YouTube channels. Now, you may feel offended by what I'm about to say. This is something that I recently just posted this morning on my YouTube channel. My Facebook page. I said effectively, and I don't even want to mess it up. I'm just going to read it to you what I said on my Facebook page. I said to all the white people on my page that have been silent or have a problem with rioting. This was actually a response to someone else's page, a gentleman on my page who is white that I went to high school with, who was having commentary with some of his white people on his who are devoutly Republican and blaming black people for this situation and blaming the Democratic Party, which I blame both parties because both of them don't give 2 rats asses about black Americans or black people, period, in my opinion, and from what I've seen of them. So this was actually a response to them, which I realize is a response to anybody on my page. But I said that because these businesses do, because they were saying, what's the point of looting and burning your own community? Now, I want people to understand other people, black people, have said this on my page as well. So even though this is to white people, this is also to the black people on my page. Please get off my page if this offends you. Please unfriend me because I don't need you as a friend. But I said, because these businesses do not because these businesses do nothing but take from our communities, sure, they provide low-paying jobs, but the profits from these businesses does nothing to build our community. Instead, the funding is moved into predominantly white communities. The owners of these companies have never spoken out against public police brutality, yet expect black people to support their business. Furthermore, rioting is the voice of the unheard, the voice of the despair, the voice of the oppressed, the voice of the continued suppression. When you read your history books, do you say the same of the Boston Tea Party, the American Revolution, the Civil War, or any other revolution where Europeans were tired of oppression and took their country back? Do you complain about the French Revolution or the Scottish fighting against the British for their freedom? Would you complain about 1804 in Haiti when the former slaves took their freedom from their slave masters? Now, France doesn't pay the monarchy for their revolution, nor does America pay England for their revolution. But yet Haiti is still paying France for lost wages for a revolution that happened over 200 years ago. What white Americans do not understand, and I'm going to say black Americans do not understand as well, is that there is a white America and a black America. One systematically has pressed the other. Yet you become upset when those oppressed decide to use the same tactics that your ancestors used to gain their freedom. Before you judge a people, look back at your history to know your people. And then finally, if this bothers you, please unfriend me because I do not need you as a friend. That was what I posted on my Facebook page. I say that in all earnest, with very little respect to your feelings. First, these businesses, Target, AutoZone, are the two main ones. I believe there's another company, but Target and AutoZone. What do they do for the black community? Have the owners and the CEO, the board ever came out and spoke against police brutality in our communities? No, they set up shop because they know they can make money. They hire people with low wages so they can make money, and they go on about their business. Now, I know they do this everywhere that they are. But when you are doing it in an area of people who are being brutalized, but yet you're taking money from those people, those owners, those CEOs, those upper management, middle management, you do not see them putting their corporate office in our black community. No, they don't put their corporate office in our black community. Their corporate office is somewhere in a white community, in a downtown area. Take, for instance, here in Atlanta, the company Arby's. It's all in the black community. It's in a lot of communities, but it is definitely in low-income communities. But their Atlanta headquarters is in one of the most expensive communities in Atlanta. The higher income wage earners for this company do not live in our black community. They take their money outside of the black community. They fund things outside of the black community. If we were to look at their charitable donations, they do not funnel inside the black community. So do I care about their stores being burned to the ground? No. And people say you're burning your own community. We do not own Target. We do not own AutoZone. We do not own those businesses. So they are not burning their own community. And trust and believe, if people still want to go to Target afterwards, they'll just drive to another community where there is a Target when this portion of it is over. And I say this portion because it shall not die. They don't mean a damn thing to us in our community as a whole. Then people rage on and say, well, why don't you go to the white communities and burn that down? Well, they did go to the police precinct. The people in Minnesota went to the police precinct, they burned that down. Why don't they go to their own? Well, that shows you do not understand how riots work. A rioting people will start out close to them. They usually are on foot walking. They are not going to walk 10, 15 miles across town, leaving everything as it is, and then burn that neighborhood. It will be a pattern of burning and extend it further and further and further until it is stopped. This is why your president has issued his little statement about they start looting, we're going to start shooting. Well, they already was looting, and you ain't start shooting. But as soon as we move outside, the further and further it goes out, then maybe they will. And I still will say, for every military, National Guard, police person who will shoot unarmed people because they are looting, committing not even a felony, you are a slave to the system. You should be strung up. And there is absolutely no way I should stand for that. So for those businesses, I don't care. I don't. And rioting is just the voice of the people. Rioting, as Dr. King expressed, is the voice of those who are in despair, those who have been unheard. Colin Kaepernick took a knee. You didn't listen. The people in the 60s marched. You didn't listen. People have been protesting Eric Gardner. You're not listening. Do you think black people are insane based on how Einstein described it? Do you think we will continue to do the same things over and over again and not get a result? After a time, the powder keg explodes. And then it is a totally different story, a totally different process. Yes, you're going to say rioting and they're just getting that. And yes, there are those who are opportunists. And there's a lot of white people out there rioting and breaking into stores. Matter of fact, there's a video of a white police officer from St. Paul, Minneapolis. Let me find his name. Because one of the weapons that we do have is to be able to out these people on social media. So let's please begin to out these people on social media. But this white police officer, Jacob Pedersen, whatever his name is, Jacob Pederson. I don't know why I can't say that name. But this is a white police officer who was caught breaking windows in buildings. He's from St. Paul, Minneapolis. We have to begin to out these people. We have to use whatever weapon that we have. This is warfare, people. This is warfare. This is not just black people rioting. This is warfare. And you have to understand in warfare that you must use whatever tools you have available to you until you can gain better tools. Until you can gain better weaponry, you use what you have. Not Peterson, it's Pederson. Pedersen. So Jacob Pedersen. We have to use whatever tool. You see, when in 1804, when the Haitian slaves revolted, they first revolted with machetes and knives and sticks and rocks. And then as they conquered, they took on guns. So as we conquer, we can take on more weaponry. So as we go and take on more weaponry and owning the land and owning the businesses and teaching our children what we need to teach them and teaching our young adults what we need to teach them and taking political power and buying guns and owning guns and forming community militias, when we do that, we can then take more. Then we can take more decisive action. But for right now, we have, no, you're all right, Kenneth. I appreciate you putting it out there. Kenneth put out the name, he was putting the name of the officer. Right now, we have what we have. We have what we have, and we do what we can do. It's just like when in the conversation when I was talking to where we was talking about whether or not military people will stand with the government or would they stand with the people. You have to understand that until such a thing happens, those military people will take every piece of armament that they can in order to support the people. It will divide the military. It will divide the military. There was an occasion when I was on Camp Lejeune that there was a fear that there was going to be a black riot, that was going to be a race war. Sorry, it was going to be a race war. And one of our black generals noticed that all the white generals and white officers were trying to put the armaments on lockdown and remove black people who had access to them and Hispanics who had access to them. And then he came in and was like, oh, heck no, you're not going to remove these people from their position just because you're in fear and you want to have the greater portion. And it almost sparked a race riot on Camp Lejeune. Very few people know of this. Very few people know of this. But because of my position in the military at the time, I was privy to it since I worked closely with that black general. So we got to understand that this is warfare, and we use what we got to use. We use what we have. So when people riot, it's because they're done. At the core of it, they're done. Opportunists, yes. But at the core, it's the people being frustrated. It's the people being tired. They're sick of it. They want to feel like they've done something. So destruction is the key. They are going to, now if you looked at the first ideas of rioting, the first videos, I should say, of rioting, they were busting out the police cars windows. They weren't burning buildings down. They were busting out the police car windows. They were going after the police, the very ones who supported this man murdering George Floyd. And it was because of that that we see this situation boiling over. I haven't seen that one with a white woman in a wheelchair faking that she was in a wheelchair. I'm gonna have to look for that one. So the riots are necessary. When white people, and for you black Americans who support the same ideas of these white people who are saying that we shouldn't be rioting, we're just burning down our own neighborhoods, and how is that going to help anything? Let me ask you a question. How did the Boston Tea Party help you? If you're on here and you're white, explain that to me. How did the Boston Tea Party help you? How did the American Revolution help you? Even for white people in the South, how did the Civil War help you? Because it's amazing to me. Now, I lived in Germany for 3 years, a little over 3 years. And not only place I ever saw anything with swastikas and things of that nature was in museums. The Germans literally abhorred and made it illegal to have any monuments to any Nazis, right? Whereas in the South, we got monuments to the Confederacy, who were people saying we deserve the right to have slaves. You can call it whatever you want to. You can say it was over, states' rights. It was the right to own slaves. You can say it was over economics. It was the economics to own slaves. The 3/5 man compromise was the compromise for property versus voting ability. So no matter how you slice it, your ancestors were fighting to own slaves, and with all these monuments to those ancestors, it's kept alive this idea of racism in the South. Now there's racism all over this country, but we keep that. It's been kept alive through many different ways. But what I'm saying is, you have benefited from the American Revolution. You benefited from the French Revolution. Here's a thought: if it had not been for the French Revolution, then the American Revolution would have failed. Right? Understand that. Or do I have that? No, I have that wrong in history. I don't know if I have that right in history. But I do know if it wasn't for France supporting the American Revolution, the American Revolution would have failed. So you had to have the help of somebody else who disagreed and interfered. Having other teammates who came in and did that. Right. And RC said something, and I'm going to come back to that, RC. I'm going to come back to that. Definitely, I'm coming back to that. But there is a time frame. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you have benefited from all of this. You benefited from Manifest Destiny, where it said, go across America and kill all the natives and all those people and make sure that they, we're doing this in the name of God. So let's go across and kill all these people. Let's have the Mexican-American War so we can take this land. America is not America without violence. Okay? It doesn't happen. Freedom didn't come without violence. Even when black people try to protest you peacefully, you enacted violence. Just because you haven't seen it on the same scale as your ancestors 50 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, does not mean it is wrong. Your ancestors are the ones who enacted this violence on us. And yet you expect us to be peaceful. To be peaceful. This is hypocrisy. If there is one thing I cannot stand, it's people who do not want to go by the golden rule. It irritates me at no level. At the highest level, I should say. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Your ancestors oppressed us. Now, when your ancestors were oppressed by your own people, you fought a war. You vandalized. But yet, when you are oppressors, you don't want us to vandalize. You want us to be on your side. You want us to follow your rules. Your rules of engagement. Here's the thing. If we follow your rules of engagements, we get nowhere. We get nowhere following your rules, which is another thing that irritates me of the black people who are listening to this and who have seen what I put out. Sitting back, talking about why black people are out there vandalizing. We got to make sure we clean our own house up. Black on black crime. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you serious? First of all, get your facts straight. There are more white on white crimes in America than there are black on black crimes. But do you hear white people decrying about white on white crime? You don't. And crime is actually symptomatic to your availability. Black people usually live with more black people. White people usually live with more white people. Hence, black people gonna kill more black people. White people gonna kill more white people. Black people gonna rob more black people. White people gonna rob more white people. Black people gonna rape more black people. White people gonna rape more white people. We are usually criminals are opportunists, and they usually do crimes within 10 miles of where they live. That is why when police are looking for somebody, they look within a 10-mile radius of where the person lives. So stop with the black on black. We need to clean up our black on black. And the worst one, and out of respect, I'm not going to call the name out. The worst one was somebody trying to implement God in the process. And then this is, I'm going to offend black people on two levels on this one. First of all, let me be clear. I do not care who you call God. I do not care who you worship. Worship whomever you choose to worship. I don't care. But I do care about you following what you worship. Follow what you worship. How about that? Now, in one of your books, Ecclesiastes, I had it, but it's on my phone, so I can't get to it. But in Ecclesiastes, it says that there is a time for peace and there's a time for war. There's a time to kill. There's a time to love and there's a time to hate. There's a time. There's a time. There's a time for each one. And it's so interesting to me that white people have stood there and said that going to Iraq, when I went to Iraq in Desert Storm, they were teaching in boot camp when you went to church that God is on America's side and God is sending us to battle. Pray for those who are going to battle that we win. When World War II happened, it was God is on our side. The Germans said God was on their side too. Everybody always say that God is on their side when they're fighting a war. But white people have said God is on their side every time they've killed you, every time they raped you, every time that they came and they stole you from Africa. When they came and they stole this land, they said it was God that led them. Their violence was backed up by God each time. Their slavery was backed up by the same book, God, each time. So what I'm telling you is if you're going to believe that book, then use that same book to get your freedom. Don't sit up here and do the dispensation that we're in a time of dispensation now. Turn the other cheek while they slapping the hell out of you, while they putting they knee on your neck. Why are you turning? Why are you turning? Why aren't you using the exact same book that they use against you even to this day? Why aren't you using it? Why not? Use the same thing. Your mind has been subjugated to a state of poverty. And I'm not saying every person who reads the Christian Bible, the Jewish Torah, or the Quran are in this category. Not everybody follows this mindset, but a hell of a lot of you do. I haven't seen it as much on my Facebook page now, but let me say it for my Facebook page. If you sit up there and you just say we need to pray, you get off my page. Because your book said prayer without faith, faith without works is dead. So if your only thing is to pray, get off my page. Get off. Because you are dead. I don't mind spiritual people from any walk of spirituality, but if you are dead in your spirituality, get off my page. Because there is not one spirituality out there that tells you to sit there and take it. Sit there and carry that burden. Kirk Franklin got y'all tripping. Talking about, he won't give you more than you can bear. No, actually, it talks about he won't give you more than you can bear and will provide an escape. Understand the book that you're reading. He will give you an escape. And that escape might be a time for peace and a time for war. A time to live and a time to kill. A time to love and a time to hate. You see, you're caught up in them teaching our ancestors that they're supposed to sit idly by and slaves be good to your master, whether they are good or bad, as you would be unto Jesus. That they got you in that mindset while they do the opposite. So you understand the psychological warfare that you've been placed under before you come out and say something like that, because all you're doing is holding black people down further. Y'all, we walk around, we say well, we're conquerors. How are you a conqueror if you're allowing yourself to be conquered? If you follow something like the Tao, the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first step. To build a brick wall, you first have to lay the first brick. You cannot sit by and just wait for the way, for the Tao to make everything magically happen for you. You cannot sit and wait for people to miraculously have some level of morality and come and take care of you. The Tao tells you to get up off your A's and do something. That you got to walk in the way. People mistakenly think that the act of non-doing is doing and all things shall be done from the Tao means you just sit there. No, you don't sit there. You look at the flow and the frequency of how things are done and you do it. That is how by doing nothing, things or nothing is left undone because you do it in the flow of the way. Right? If you read in the Tao, understand the Tao. Quit sitting up there fluttering up some BS that sound all fluffy and talk to it like it's real. Understand it like it's real. Because otherwise, you don't. You don't understand the Tao. You just you just following the way that people are like, ooh, he must be spiritual. He reading the Tao, he meditating, he talking about chakras and all that and energy and frequency and flow. Hell, you don't even understand it. Because if you did, you would understand cause and effect. For every cause, there is an effect. For every effect, there is a cause. Either you are the causation of something or you are the effect of somebody else's causation. These riots are the causation, are the effects of the causation of being suppressed and oppressed by former slave masters. This systematic process of government, that is the cause and effect. And if you want to change it, you got to break the damn stick and change it. Change the flow. Change the flow. White people understood that. And black people don't. If you want a river to go to the right, then you dam it up on the left to force it to the right. If you want to go to the left, you dam it up and force it to the left. If you want to just stop it and let just a little bit eke out, then you dam it up and you put pressure relief valves in it. You have to be the causation factor. Otherwise, you will get the same thing you've been getting over and 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 over again until you do something different. So if you think marching is going to get you there, if you think voting is going to get you there, you are full of it. You've lost your mind completely. Now, a person asked me like, well, what should we do? Now, if you saw my other video I did, the last live I did, I gave you a plan of what we should do. Yes, we have to buy the businesses and support the businesses in our community, buy the land, and only support businesses that are helpful to our community. All right, that's one. Two, we got to teach our people how to eat, and we got to teach them the full history of their religious beliefs so that they can make an informed decision. Three, we have to show up at PTA and we have to control what the schools are teaching our kids because we're wasting a whole bunch of time teaching a bunch of stuff that is not going to matter to our children. All right, we have to everybody has to learn personal finances and how to do their personal finance so that they can own the home that they live in. We have to control our own destiny by controlling our finances, controlling our health, controlling our police. Oh, and we have to form militias that police the police as well as police our neighborhood. We have to buy guns. We have to use the laws of the land that we're in order to benefit us instead of allowing those same laws to be to our detriment. You want to know how to fix it. And like I said, I don't care what religion you believe in. Just follow the one that you do. But stop following just a little fluffy crap. All right? Stop following the little fluffy. It ain't getting us nowhere. It hasn't gotten us anywhere, and it's not going to get us anywhere. It's not. And if you think that we got to fix this black on black crime thing before that we can change anything, because many people are saying if we fix our black on black crime, then they will respect us because we respect ourselves. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? People in power respect power. What is the power? The power is economic and militarized and economic. So military and economic. Those are the power. That's it. There's no other power. There's no other power that's going to work. There's no other power that's going to change. Here's the thing that's funny to me. The reason why the Jewish people don't accept Jesus as a Messiah is because the Jewish people recognize in order to get off and under the foot of the Roman Empire that they had to find, their Messiah had to be a general, a war fighter. And that's what they were looking for, and that's what they're still looking for. That's the cut and dry main reason why they didn't accept it. Okay, that's it. That's the reason, right? Now, the only reason Christianity grew is because Not because people evangelized and changed people's hearts. That's not why it grew. No, it's not. This is why we need to understand the history of all these things. It grew because Rome, Constantine legalized it, then Constantine organized it, and then Theodosius made it illegal to be any other religion, and then killed 50 million other people. And here's the thing, majority of that 50 million people were Gnostic Christians that he killed in order to get everybody under the Orthodox. It grew out of violence. The only reason that most black people are Christian, out of violence from Christian colonists and slavery. The only reason a lot of black people are Islamic is because of Moorish invaders who chopped off hands and forced people to be Islamic. Those are the only reason. And the only reason people are joining Hebrew Israelites is because you're being told that you're great and you're going to conquer the white people. It is through violence that these things have grown. Through violence. And if you think you're going to get your freedom, if they're going to just all of a sudden respect you, it's not going to happen. That is not the way of people. That is not the way. That's not how the universe functions. Okay? It just doesn't. Even if you're an atheist and you look at evolution, everything happened out of violence. The violent actions of meteorites and stuff smashing together, violence. All right? Now, I'm not one for saying that we should be in all-out warfare on every occasion. But I am not one to say that violence is not an answer. Until people respect you, like the bully. How do you teach your kids to? Okay, back in my day, how did you get a bully to stop being a bully? You challenged the bully. You fought the bully. As long as you sit there and took that butt whooping from that bully kept bullying you. That bully kept bullying you. Many women who are in abusive relationships, they either got to escape, leave, go away, get away, or they got to fight that dang on bully. One of the two. One of the two. There was a young man, he was bullying my cousin when we was in high school. I whooped that tail. He stopped bullying my cousin. Same thing in elementary. I whooped that tail. He stopped bullying my cousin. Wasn't going to do that. Not having that. The only thing people of power understand is power. And if we don't have any, that's not going to change. Look, I'm one for meditating. I can meditate all day. But it ain't going to change none of this. Okay? It's not. Actions change it. One of the things that's going to offend a whole bunch of people. I will not get many views of this video. I will not get many likes. I will not get many people who will all of a sudden want to hang out and follow me and do the things that I'm looking for them to do. One of the reasons why is because y'all are so caught up into Hollywood, athletes, entertainers, news media, all these people. Those are the ones that you're listening to. I did post this as well today. And basically what I'm saying is Colin Kaepernick kneeled because of that. Now, a lot of athletes, they took their little places here and there for it. And y'all still support those athletes. I am telling you right now, if any athlete, any entertainer does not get this now, does not understand this, if they sit up there and take the league's little rule of don't come out for the national anthem, just stay in the locker room. If you take that slave mentality, I'm done with you. You are not, first of all, you're not a leader in the black community anyway, okay? And what was it was a Porter, Michael Porter Jr. talking about we need to pray for the police officer's family. Dude, seriously? Seriously. There are consequences to all your actions. If I do something heinous, then there are consequences to my children, to my wife. And I contemplate those things before I do things. Like, how is this going to affect my children? How is this going to affect my wife? How is this going to affect my family? He should have thought about that. That's his negligence. I'm not praying for him. I'm not praying for his family. Are you serious? In your privacy of your own home, fine. But to come out as someone with a voice to instruct black people to pray for this man after he kneeled on his neck, readjusted his body. And it's come out that they worked as bouncers and security at the same damn restaurant. So there's a probability that they knew each other and that there could have been some other issue prior to that. So for this Michael Porter Jr. dude to come out and make a statement, and some other dude on Twitter that people are up in Shamlik, whatever, to talk about that blaming black people for this, or telling us to pray for this police officer, have you lost your ever-loving mind? This is the problem when people are so damn religious and don't understand spirituality. Stop praying for your enemy, because your enemy ain't praying for you. The same God you pray to help you out of your situation is the same God they're praying to that put you in your situation. Do you think that the white people, the Dutch and the Portuguese and the English and all these people, when Leopold went into Africa and killed 10 million people, do you not think that they prayed before they left? Do you not think that they was praying while they was doing it? That when they landed on the soil, they weren't praying, let us conquer, let us go in the name of God. When every freaking here's the funny thing. When the Crusades happened, the European Crusaders were praying, God, let us conquer in your name. The Ottomans were praying, God, let us maintain and conquer in your name. Everybody's praying to God. And then we always like to say, well, God must have wanted this and God must have wanted that. God gave them the victory. Well, God had a lesson for them and that's why they lost. No, this is man. Okay, stop blaming everything on God. There's an old joke, I can't remember how it goes, but I know God and the devil are both sitting on the bench and the devil is crying and the devil is like, every time something bad happens to them, I get blamed for it. And then God's like, what, you think that's bad? And I forget that God part, but I think God says like, no matter what happens to them, I'm blamed for it, or they blame me for everything, or they, something like that. I don't even remember the old joke. But basically the joke is that stop. God is like, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Got nothing to do. I created this universe. I put laws in this universe for how it to work. And then I said, here you go, run it. Your own book tells you that you have dominion over everything. So what? It's you. It's you. It's all you. There's no one else. It's all you. Right? It's no one else. Just you. Okay? God didn't tell black people, for my Hebrew Israelites who look at Deuteronomy 28, didn't tell black people, tell the white people, hey, go make slaves of those black people over there. They're a lost tribe of Israel and they got to be enslaved for 400 years. So go get them. Of course he didn't tell them that. Of course it didn't. Because here's the thing. The slave trade had already started before King James had that added to the doctrine. Because if you look at the Vulgates and the Septuagints and any other scroll, the D-text, prior to 1619 or 1612, 1619, I believe, or 1654, that time frame. Before any of that time frame, before that was written, wasn't in the book. It wasn't in any of the scrolls. It was written in to justify the transatlantic slave trade. I know that hurts your feelings. I know. Because you're basing your life on that. But it's just facts. It's not me. Go look it up. Go look it up. Don't take what I say. Go look it up. Go look it up. But here's what you have to understand. This is why I say we have to teach our people the history of what they're believing. And if you still choose to believe it, go ahead. But at least believe it in the right framework. At least in the right framework. Be able to look at it and say, that's some BS. And that's real. Be able to do that. Be able to do that. And understand that you can stand up and fight war. You can riot. Okay? You can fight. You can fight economically and you can fight violently. You can fight either way. It's condoned in all the books. Many people think that Buddhism only teach you to be all nice and walk around in your robe and be all peaceful and nonsense. No. Buddhists are taught to whoop your tail. Buddhists are taught to kick your butt, to defend themselves. All right? It is not a teaching of just peace. Hell no. Y'all need to understand these things before y'all go jumping into them. Because I see a lot of black Buddhists who are sitting up here thinking like everything is peace. Yum, yum, yum. No. No, it also teaches you that when people try to oppress you, you whoop that tail. All right? It teaches you that Buddhism teaches you that you are not to maintain a life of suffering, that you are supposed to overcome suffering. And most Buddhists will only take that as personal suffering within, but no, it is also suffering without, suffering on the outside. You're not supposed to suffer financially. You're not supposed to suffer economically. Well, that's the same thing. But you're not supposed to suffer physically. You're not supposed to be suffering in your family. You're not supposed to be suffering under your government. You're not supposed to be suffering. You're not supposed to sit there and just sit in suffering. You're not. But many black people think that they got to sit in suffering because and I understand you feel this pressure and it feels like it's a huge weight that you cannot get away from, that you cannot escape. But I'm telling you that you can get off of it. Now, does that mean that everybody's going to survive getting off and up under it? No, But you got to be willing to put your life on the line in order to survive, or to allow for the next person to survive, or your sister, your brother, your cousin, your daughter, your sons to be able to survive, to have a better life, to have a better life, to have a better life. We've been on the bottom in this country since we got here. And for those who say that their ancestors were already here, you've been on the bottom since the white colonists got here. You've been on the bottom. How long has it been? What? They got here around the 1500s, 500 years. You've been on the bottom. Aren't you tired? Did your ancestors take those whips? Did your ancestors take those beatings? Did your ancestors take that rape? Did your ancestors take that separation of family? Did your ancestors take that police brutality? Did they take being marginalized for all these years just so that you can sit up here and maintain the same situation, to continue to be marginalized, to continue to not move forward, to continue to be in a state where you're only accepting of the little grains of sand, the little grains that they give you? No, you come from a people who fought wars, or come from a people who decided their own destiny. And the fact that you're sitting up here and you're going to side with your oppressor and sit up there and think that you should not, these people shouldn't be rioting, shows that you are still captive into the slave mentality of thinking that white is right, when they are sitting up there saying that white is might. And if you don't get that, you got a problem. And for all these LeBron James, yeah, he said something. Yeah. Whatever. And yeah, LeBron James helped these kids go to school and that sort of thing. But when LeBron James actually come into a impoverished black neighborhood and buys the plazas and start building black businesses in there, knowing that the primary businesses that is taking money out of the black community are your gas stations, are your beauty supply places, are your grocery stores, or your restaurants, when we realize that those, and then clothing, when you realize that those businesses are taking more money out of the black community, and he goes and buys those and set those up, then I'll be more likely to say, oh, he's doing pretty good. Stephen Jackson, I know you knew George Floyd. That was your twin. You called him twin. You have a pain inside you, and you say you're not going to let this BS fly. If it stops at just the police going to jail, then I ain't got much love for you either. And for anybody else who call themselves a celebrity or a well-known person or who has a following, if all you do is sit there and you just go with it until now and then you let it go afterwards, then there's nothing. You're wasteful. You're useless. We have no purpose for you. Please go away. And I'm saying this to the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons out there. You're useless. You're wasteful. Please go away. You run from hot spot to hot spot so you can get in front of the public. And then you stand there and you grandstand talking about, we're going to get justice. We're going to get justice. But what are you really doing? You haven't done nothing significant for 40 years. People say, oh, well, they helped this family and that family and that family. If I had 40 years of being in your position, it wouldn't be I helped this family, that family, this family. It would be we put a roadmap of how to build and take back the communities and the black communities, and we built them. This is Lithonia. It was predominantly black when we got there. But the black people didn't own the property. They didn't own the business. They didn't own anything in there. Very few did. 3% of the population owned the business. 3% of the population owned their home. When our organization finished after 20 years, we're at 90% of the businesses in that community are owned by black people, and 90% of the homes are owned by black people. Can Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton say that? Can they say that in 40 years they have pocketed these types of communities all across America, showing black people that we can take over our community, that then we can control the police in our community, control the schools in our community, control the politicians in our community by owning the land and owning the business and supporting each other? Can they show that they have done that for their 40, 50 years that they've been running around talking about that they helping black people? Can they say that? When they can say that, then I'll give them some credit. But just because you ran from a hotbed to a hotbed to a hotbed to a hotbed, I'm not taking none of that. I could care less about what you say. And please forgive me. I forget the gentleman in Oklahoma who had lost his life and Al and them was running in there. But you ain't heard nothing from Al since then until now. Because they run from hot situation to hot situation. Almost as if there's somebody telling them, go calm the black people down. Hey, Al, go calm the black people down. We're going to give a little justice. Go calm the black people down. And here go a check. But until you can show me that they went from community to community doing that over the history of time that they've been in the position they've been in, then I'll accept it. Then I'll accept them as a black leader. But for right now, I accept them as I do not. So before I close this video out, let me reiterate. Let me reiterate the plan going forward. The plan going forward is to do just that. There will be those who will side with me and those who will not. There will be those who will jump on the bandwagon later. But the plan is to buy a plaza, put a grocery store in it, only have black businesses in that plaza. We will weed out the white ones and we'll weed out the Asians. We'll weed everybody out. And I don't care if people say it's legal or it's right. I don't care. Doesn't matter. We will make the plaza safe for people to come into and shop. It will definitely have a grocery store. It will definitely have restaurants. It will definitely have clothing. And it will definitely have beauty supply. These are just things that black people buy. And if we can buy the gas station, and then we will buy the gas station. And these are just things that you have to do, that people are just going to buy. I know people saying they're burning down Target now, but they're going to go to Walmart tomorrow. They don't have many choices. So we're going to create the choice. And we're going to take over and we're going to teach people how to buy their homes and teach them how to support their children in schools. I'm going to support the schools. We're going to force the schools to teach what we want them to teach. This is what's going to happen over the next few years. It can happen quickly or it can happen slowly. If I have to do it by myself, it's going to happen within the next 5 years. If I get people with me, we can do it in the next 12 months to 36 months. We can do it quickly. But it's going to get done. It's going to get done because I have no patience to wait for your Jesse Jacksons and your Al Sharptons. Who gives two rat's asses about them? And once that is done, then maybe I can get the churches, the mosques, and the temples to come alongside and say, hey, we're going to instruct our people to shop at your plaza. We're going to instruct our people to go there. And we're actually going to put some of this tithe money behind doing something similar to that. Because I originally wrote this program for churches, temples, and synagogues to do because they already had the people. They were already organized, but the pastors are too damn scared to do it. So I'll do it myself, right? Either you will do it with me or you won't. You will do it with me or you won't. I put out the information to certain people for me to get information back on exactly how to set this up so that we can offer an in-house IPO so that people can buy shares into it and be able to build it. If people do it, great. If they don't, as I build my companies, I'll do it my damn self. I'll do it my damn self. Plain and simple. I don't need somebody else in order for me to move. Too many of us are waiting for somebody else to do it before we do it. We can do this. We can do this. And if over the next 40 years, we start to take over communities and towns, other cities, other people, it will become the norm. It will become a normal thing. Once we do one, then another group will say, dang, they did it. We can do it. Right? And then more people would do it, and more and more and more. And when we see it's profitable, when we see that we can live off of it, more and more people will do it. And over the next 40 years, we can change our political position, our economic position, our intellectual position in this country, and our defensible position. Because we will fund black militias in our community to police the police and police our neighborhoods. All right? We will form that. I will not pay the police to police this plaza. No. I will pay a black militia to police this plaza, armed black militia to police this plaza, to make sure that people feel safe and can shop there. And then we will expand that to police that town and go to and then when we build the next one, we'll do it the same thing. It'll be the same process. Then we can just repeat it. That's the plan. I would love for you guys to get on board with it. Stay tuned. More and more information will be coming out about that. I did join a group, Blackout 2020, I believe is what it's called. A lot of people have been joining that. I think it's an interesting group. I think you guys should join it. It's on Facebook, Blackout 2020. Wait a minute, it's Blackout, something like that. Just look it up, Black Buyout 2020. You guys should join it. But like I said at the very beginning of this, I have a hard stop. So, Caroline says she's in it. She's in. I don't have my glasses. I can't see. So just stay tuned. Because you see, here's the thing. When we do stuff like this, we got to make sure that it's legal. Because, that's the first thing. They'll try to shut you down. Got to make sure everything is legal. But y'all stay good. Stay pissed. Stay pissed. Anger is a good thing. Anger is a good thing. When anger is pointed in the right direction, it's a good thing. In the book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu talks about how he will put his troops in a position where they are fueled by anger, but only have one direction to go. and they overwhelm their enemy when they are in that mindset and in that position. Let's keep the mindset. We're in the position. Let's keep the mindset. There is only one way for us to go. There is only one way. We're at the bottom. So shit, we can only go up. Okay? And that's where we're going. That's where we're going. We got to be able to come to the table equally and say, we brought our own food. We brought our own chairs. We brought our own utensils. We brought our own wine. We brought our own drinks. We brought our own everything. We don't need you. We don't need you. We good. And we are backed. I don't care what you believe and say your nationality is. I don't care. I'm looking at African countries, Caribbean countries that are ran by black people that are taking over for themselves. We are going to be backed by them, invest in them so that they can invest in us. We're going to say that, hey, we can go to Rwanda if we want to. We can go to Botswana if we want to. We can go to Ghana if we want to. We can go to Benin if we want to. We can go to the East African Federation when it's formed if we want to. That's one of the things black people in this country lack. We don't have a place like that. Asian people have a place like that. Spanish people have a place like that. Europeans have a place like that. Black people don't have a place like that. We will be very instrumental in making sure we have a place like that. Okay? So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good vibrations, good journey.